Athletics Club have been tearing up the record books. Yared Nguze breaking the American record on the men's side with 7:28. We'll see him later on this evening in the mile. So Alicia Monson from the same stable. They train in Colorado Boulder, coached by Dathan Ritzenheim, a phenomenal athlete in his own right. So you kind of feel they know what they're doing. Alicia Monson, she's the athlete that everyone's expecting to do this, but Elise Cranny, she's a very, very good athlete. She's got phenomenal range, 3:59 all the way up to 30 minutes 14 for the 10,000 metres. So if I was Elise Cranny, I'd be thinking, I'm just going to sit in here, let Alicia Monson do all the work, and then unleash my 3:59 speed.
It would be a good tactic, wouldn't it? But, you know, going back to the record, you know, we hear all these record attempts, but I think a lot of the athletes at this meeting, they've all been very honest and very vocal. You know, we'll particularly talk about the men's 1 mile attempts, you know, right at the end of the programme. But I think it's quite unusual that all the athletes have arrived on the start line knowing what most people's objectives are. You know, they just want to run as quick as they can, which is really interesting. But if you do try and attack a record, do you get so far ahead of the record that you give yourself a little bit of bumper space and you know, I can just grind it out towards the end? Or do you run it conservatively and you run it economically? But they've gone aggressive, Hannah. It's under 67 seconds, which is what Danielle Aragon has been asked to do.
I think the idea of going out hard and hanging on, for me, that works in an 800, it works in a 1500 maybe, if you can hold it together. 3,000!
It's a long way.
It's a long, long way. And we can see here pictures, we have got 2 pacemakers in the field. Danielle Aragon has been asked to go at that 8:20 pace with hope of breaking the American record. We've got Anna Kemp-Bennett in there as a second pacemaker, almost at that NCA record pace for perhaps the likes of Caitlin Toohey. She tries to make that mark. Both marks held by Carissa Schweizer. I wonder if she's watching. This could be an agonising
bad evening, couldn't she? But I actually think as a retired athlete, you know the sport moves on. You want people to do well. But fantastic that we've got 2 pacemakers, like you say. You know, when you get a field and there's a couple of athletes going after a record, the rest of the field find it very, very difficult. You know, what do they go at? But there's lots and lots of things to go at. Look, these women are working very, very hard. But Hannah, I think our heads are going to be scrambled by the end of this. There'll be all sorts of personal best, season's best, hopefully national records, collegiate records. We'll do our best to keep on top of it.
Well, I think they came through 800 metres in around about 2:13, 2:14, which is almost exactly what Carissa Schweizer did here a few years ago when she set that US record. So they're bang on pace at the moment. Schweizer did settle down to a 4:31 mile, so we'll try and keep our eye on that. But at the moment, single file for these top 3 women racing. We've also got Ellie Hens in there. She slotted herself into 3rd place. She's got a personal best of 8:49 from last year, so she is operating a huge margin underneath her personal best. Alicia Monson and Elise Cranny, they've kind of been in this territory before. They sort of know what they're doing. But Ellie Hens on the back of that group. Fair play to her.
Well, I've got to say, Ellie Hens, she has run a little bit quicker outdoors. She's run 8:42. But sometimes when you've just wintered really well, you can make a big, big difference. You know, Ellie Hens is only 24. It's still relatively young, especially in distance running. And she's definitely set off with good intention, and she'll be well aware of what these 2 women are trying to do. And she just looks like very, very comfortable at the moment, and she could be in for a huge personal best.
Alicia Monson just checking the screen, and she will see exactly what she would have expected. Elise Cranny stuck to her back like glue. Elise Cranny, part of the Bowerman Track Club. They've been training up in Flagstaff, and sort of the banter, if you like, is they're only allowed to come and race when they're running really well. And so when you see a Bowerman Track Club athlete on a start list, it's certainly time to get excited. Of course, they run the national championships and everything that requires them to qualify for the international competitions, but to take the time out of a kind of really, really good training regime and come down to race like this, it's exciting. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what happens with Elise Cranny and Alicia Monson as they move through the next few laps. So that was 4:32,
haven't they?
It's only a second off what Carissa Schweizer went through when she ran 8:25, and I do think when you run a 3K well, says the woman that's only run about 4, and only one of them any well. You really want to lift, you get rolling in those last few laps, and you can win back some time.
That's really interesting, you know, from someone who's never run one before, especially competitively, but really interesting now. I think Alicia Monson knew she would be in this position. She would have known Elise Cranny, she's probably not going to do the work. She will be relying on me at the front. And she does look good, Alicia Monson, doesn't she? She looks controlled. If you look at her running style, she hasn't really changed from the beginning of the race so far. The facial expression doesn't look like it's changed either, but Cranny looks good as well, doesn't she?
Cranny's just slotting in there. Here's a look back at Caitlin Toohey, the NCA star, took the NCA mile record last week, finishing third behind Morgan, who's in front of her at the moment, and Monson. She had one NCA record last week. Can she get another here in the 3000? And these two are really closing up on this lead group. Is Alicia Monson slowing? I'd say she has to be if those women are coming back into the picture. Alicia Monson, she took a similar win last year, almost gun to tape, ran away with it, 8:31.62. That is still the meeting record. So Alicia Monson and Elise Cranny just trying to keep the momentum going in the latter stages of this 3000.
Well, it's interesting to see Monson. She did a mile before this one. Last year in January, she did win the US National Cross Country Championships, and then she went to the indoors. This year, she's decided not to do that. But this is where it really starts to hurt, doesn't it? Just with a few laps to go, they've got about 2 minutes of running left. And Monson now is moving away from Cranny. That might be significant.
The momentum from Whitney Morgan and Caitlin Toohey is phenomenal. When you've got athletes to target, to catch up as you go down this track, and Whitney Morgan is pulling Caitlin Toohey back towards the likes of Alicia Monson. Elise Cranny, her race could be run. This was an aggressive early pace. Alicia Monson still moving super well, but how fast are Whitney Morgan and Caitlin Toohey moving?
Oh, I can't wait to see what the final result of this will be. Elise Cranny looks like she's really paying for that first really fast pace at the beginning, but Monson's moving at 67 seconds through every 400 metres now. It did slow to 67, didn't it? So here we are, 2 laps to go, 400 metres. What are the chances, Hannah?
I think, Alicia Monson is tough as nails. Her 8:31 here last year was run in similar fashion. That was a wonderful platform for a brilliant outdoor season. Saw her mix it with the very best on the circuit, on that Diamond League circuit. But Alicia Monson, as she looks up at that screen, she's got around about 230, 220 metres to go. And I do think Whitney Morgan has stopped making inroads into Alicia Monson. Alicia Monson, 65 seconds for that 400 metres. I do think the American record, she's going to need 32 seconds, so it could be possible. She's going to really need to lift and fight that mark of Carissa Schweitzer, 8:25.7. Alicia Monson is going to give it absolutely everything. She swings into the home straight for the final time, and she's digging deep. The clock's ticking by, 8:25 dead. That will be a new American record for Alicia Johnson. A fantastic result there for Whitney Morgan in second place. That is brilliant for Alicia Monson. And if you listen to the end stadium announcer, that does suggest Caitlin Toohey has surpassed the collegiate mark as well. So commiserations to Carissa Schweitzer. Congratulations to Alicia Monson and Caitlin Toohey.
Well, so much going on in that race. So difficult to keep a track of it. I tell you what, Hannah, there are some hard-working women there. They're training.